I kind of would like to have you come down for the children's sermon because I'm setting this up for the regular sermon. So, can we have the young people, please? Good morning. You guys are in transition, and by the way, they read really well, didn't they? This. I know you said you were scared, but you did excellent, and all of you did. And we celebrate the fact that we have this Youth Sunday 4 times a year when we've got 5 Sundays, and it gives you a chance to actually really participate in the service, and I think it's a good experience. And I know the congregation loves to hear it. Okay, so the question I have, oh, by the way, before I forget it, do you have pens or pencils? Your mother has one. I want you to take notes for tonight, okay, for the sermon. All right. How many of you think you're perfect? I thought I saw somebody's hand go up back there. Right? This is just, nobody thinks you're perfect? Sometimes. Well, that's good, but not all the time? Not all the time. Okay, is your sister perfect? Kind of. Well, that's real nice of you to say that. But you don't think you're perfect. So what faults do you think you have? Many. Well, one is fine, without being too embarrassing or just... You're next. Okay, but that's a good answer. All people do sin, including me. And but we got to be more specific. Can you tell a more specific? You lose your temper a lot? No. Whenever you get mad, what? You're disrespectful. Okay, now that's a very concrete thing. Now, I know as difficult it is to find a fault in yourself. What is one that you can think of? You get mad at your brother too much. And I'm going to bring that up in the sermon, not about your brother, but about mine. Because we fought, too. And my brother beat me up a lot because he was 5 years older than I am. But your brother doesn't do that, does he? No. Okay, so is that something you can control, how mad you get? Or do you just automatically get mad? Okay, I know he contributes to it. But it's your remember in confirmation we said it's your choice whether you get mad or not. People can be really obnoxious, but you can choose how you respond to them, right? Yeah. And so, but you can control it or you can't? You can. You try? And how about being disrespectful? Is that something that is out of control? If you get mad, you just lose it? Yeah, okay. Well, there are some things that if we let these things go enough, they can get to the point where we do it automatically and we don't control it anymore. And at that point, we kind of call that a demon, that something gets into you that you lost control of. And it's very important that when you know that you're doing something bad or wrong, that you find a way to control it. And sometimes you have to pray about it and think real hard and go do some extra concentration to make sure you don't lose control of those things that are not so nice about you. Now, and do you have any more to say about when you said you weren't perfect all the time, but sometimes you were? Well, you remember, when you do the things that are doing you right, remember to do them constantly. If you do good things, keep doing them and make sure you do some of them each day. Okay, they did real well today, didn't they? The Holy Gospel is written in the first chapter of St. Mark, beginning at the 21st verse. Jesus said to his disciples, went to Capernaum, and when the Sabbath came, he entered the synagogue and taught. They were astounded at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. Just then there was in the synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent, and come out of him." And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying with a loud voice, came out of him. They were all amazed, and they kept on asking one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." At once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee. Here ends the gospel for the day. Please be seated. I'm sure the text for today is one that's familiar to you, but we don't use it very often. It has, in our text today, we are told that there is a man with an unclean spirit. Now, we used to call that demons. The earlier translations of the Bible said demon. And we don't use that much anymore. We're too sophisticated for that, isn't it? Demon brings up this idea of somebody in a red suit with horns and a tail and a pitchfork. And we think it's something from the past. So I guess I would ask, do you believe in demons? Are there such a thing as demons? Maybe you don't think they even exist. But whatever your thoughts are, let me assure you that in the day of Jesus, people didn't have any question about whether demons existed. They were absolutely certain. Now, demon means one who does harm. And they believed that demons were everywhere. Demons ate, drank, slept, had children. Demons stayed in the dark places and came out when you weren't expecting them. Sort of like ghosts. Demons worked through animals. There were thousands of demons that would attack you during the day. There was no question of whether they thought there were demons or not. Somehow we don't think of that anymore. We don't use the word very seldom, except if you're in the field of mental health or you're reading a translation of the Bible a few years back. I've got to tell you that I definitely believe in demons. There's no question about it. I define demon as something that steals joy, takes away hopes, drains our strength. Turns lives into a burden and makes life miserable. Demons are things that come to control us rather than we controlling them. There are many things that pose as demons: anxiety, worry, doubt, alcohol, drugs, greed. And demons can come in any shape or form. And they can get the upper hand when we feel we can't control them, whether it is in a bottle or the bottom line of a credit card, a result of greed. The overwhelming message today, though, is Jesus can come into our lives in order to control demons. The psychotic man rose up when Jesus was talking and yelled out, "Jesus, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to destroy us?" In the New Testament, it was thought that when the Messiah came, he would have control over the demons. And the fact that Mark includes this in the gospel text indicates that they might think that Jesus was the Messiah because he could call the demon out and destroy them. Jesus takes control of a person when they are suffering with demons. I would like to talk about a few demons that I think inhabit most people's lives, and it certainly does mine. And you might think about it. You might think about it after you go home this afternoon. Think about the demons that are in your life, because the first thing necessary if you're going to get rid of the demons is to recognize what they are in your life. But it is hard to talk about demons in our life because it's really part of the vocabulary of mental health, and we don't like to think that we've got any emotional or personal problems. But demons definitely do inhabit our life. And I'll mention a few this morning, and you can think of your own this afternoon. First of all, I would like to talk about the demon of always be right. I don't know of anything that destroys relationship with God or other people or upset our lives any more than the demon of always be right. In Signals magazine, or Signals catalog, which is a catalog that sells gifts that we can order, they are catchy little things, and usually they are clothing that has certain sayings on. And I saw one the other day that I saw that might indicate that there might be a problem in a relationship. A woman was wearing this sweatshirt that said, "I married Mr. Right." And on the back it said, "Unfortunately, it was Mr. Always Right." And that causes problems in relationship. But we start out as children being told that there are absolute right and wrong. And that's true. There is. But we come to think of things always in terms of absolute right and absolute wrong. When I was a child, well, I guess, when I was 6th, 7th grade, I started the idea that I was always right. I'm sure it happened before that. But we didn't have any different colored people in our community. The income level was the same. 90% of the people were from Norwegian immigrants. So we didn't have much to argue about. We were pretty much the same. So I remember, as I was thinking back on it, the thing that we argued most about was whether Ford or Chevy was a better automobile. And we'd get really heated about it. The Chevy people would say, well, Ford, it stands fix or repair daily, and Ford people would say Chevy really means shove it or leave it. And we would wait for the April issue of Consumers Reports to see what the report was, because then we could take that magazine and point that the experts tested these and backed up our claim. Unfortunately, it changed from year to year. And then we had to hide the magazine when ours didn't come out first. My mother would sit down and talk about, as we started confirmation, comparing our religion to others. We got it all right. Luther cleared up everything. And then we would sit down and say, well, we aren't going to criticize these people too much, but they're wrong on this point, and Catholics scored lowest on the report card. Methodists, almost there, but not quite. Not quite right. And so we have to stand up for what's right. So we would argue when we went and met and we started talking religion at all, we would make sure that everybody knew that we had the right answers. It didn't do much to cement relationships within the churches. Once in a while when I go to these ministers' meetings or conference meetings, I like to stir the pot a little bit. And the best way to do that is I'll come in a few minutes late. I'll say, I'm sorry, I'm late. I was listening on the radio to Joel Osteen. Oh, you aren't listening to him, are you? Oh, well, yes, I am. Well, he doesn't have any of the answers. I mean, that's disgusting, the stuff that he does. And I said, I don't know about you. I preached to a congregation about 80 people on Sunday, and he speaks to 20,000. Maybe I got something to learn from him. And they get enraged. It's not right. The Pharisees and the Sadducees were always right, too. And Jesus had problems with those. He healed somebody on Sabbath day, and they'd come and say, Jesus, you aren't following God at all. You healed this man on the Sabbath. You mean if your horse fell into a hole on the Sabbath, you wouldn't work to get him out? Oh, no. No, because it's not right. It's not right. And they want specific answers, numbers. They came to Jesus and say, how many times should I forgive my neighbor? What does the book say? The Old Testament. It says 7 times. Isn't that right? Give us an answer. Well, 70 times 7. 490 times? No, you forgive your neighbor is the same amount that God forgives you. Well, don't be so indefinite. We need to know a number. We want to know what's right. What's right is that I'm more concerned about not how much you know, but how much you care. And that's where Jesus saves us from the demon of always being right. Another demon that we confront so much is the demon of getting even. Sometimes we call it social justice. Let's get even. That starts in high school, in childhood too. Brother hits me, I hit him back. Then my brother, who's 5 years older than I, hits me harder, and I'm crying. And I go to mother and I say, he started it. He seconded it. Yeah, but he's bigger than I am. We went back and forth. And then my mother says, two wrongs don't make a right. Signal sells another sweatshirt that my wife bought when she was alive. It said, don't get mad, I get even. Said, I feel uncomfortable with that sweatshirt. So no, it's the way it is. Anyway, the Old Testament says it's an eye for an eye. You know what? That eye for an eye in the Old Testament was an attempt to get people to be less revengeful. Because one of the things that law did in that day was, if you did something, you responded with a penalty that was harsher than the crime. And so the eye for an eye was an attempt to make the punishment fit the crime. If somebody pokes out your eye, then you poke out theirs. You can't kill them. It's a symbol of tolerance. Just as the guillotine. The guillotine was an attempt to be more humane in your punishment. You don't torture somebody to death. You put them in the guillotine and boom, it's over like that. Saying nothing about getting even, not being a part of the gospel. People came to Jesus, the scribes and the Pharisees, and they say, the old law says an eye for an eye. And Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount said, yeah, you heard it said in old times, an eye for an eye, but I say unto you, love your neighbor, care for them who hurt you, and pray for them that speak evil of you. Jesus can throw out the demons of getting even. The third demon that I'm guilty of entertaining a lot is me first. We learn that in childhood too, don't we? People say babies are so cute. I don't think they're cute at all. Babies are the most selfish things in the world. They want what they want when they want it. And some of us never get out of diapers, do we? Isn't that true? I had a mother say the other day when I had my child, my son, the doctor sent me home and said, you have to feed him every 3 hours. I didn't realize it was for 35 years. We're a me-first type people. Because recently I had somebody I was coaching, I guess, going through the ordination process. I was able to sit in on some of those trainings that they were giving first-time pastors out. And I guess they feel that pastors are overworked or overstressed. But they said, one thing you've got to do is stand up for yourself first. People will always be making demands of you, and you might have something planned, and you say, well, I'm sorry, I got something I was planning, and you're going to have to come. I just can't help you right now because I've got something to do with a family or something that I just feel is more for me. Well, I don't think that's really good training. And when I talked to one of the bishop's helpers there, she said, when's your day off? And I said, I don't take a day off. She said, well, you're an insult to the clergy. I said, is that a compliment or a scolding? She said, well, you got to take care of yourself first. And I said, taking care of myself is not a problem of mine. I take care of myself very well, but I try sometimes to put others first. It's kind of interesting. A couple of years ago, we had a big crisis on famous wealthy people buying scholarships for their kids at some of the high-class schools. They couldn't get in academically, but they could get in on an athletic scholarship, so they paid anywhere from $500,000 to $1.25 million to get their children into school, Stanford or one of the real elite schools, on some kind of sports scholarship that they never played. But to think that they might have replaced somebody who was academically gifted and really deserved that because they'd done a lot of work in high school to earn that, they didn't think that $1.25 million really was that big a deal just to keep somebody else out. That's me first. Pandemic revealed a lot of what we were in terms of me first. First thing that happened when you went to the grocery store was there no toilet paper left. If I wouldn't have the church stash here, I'd have suffered from that letting go and not being me first. But it's okay. But another thing the pandemic has done is to make people more of what they are when they're good, too. And I've seen healthcare workers who were entitled to the vaccine that said, I'll just wait because there are some people that need it more than I do. Wherever you see somebody jumping into me first, there's always somebody that heard the gospel and heard Jesus' call and said, put others before you. We all have demons. These are just a few. You can think of your own, and please do that, because there's no way to get rid of it unless you recognize it in yourself. And all of these have affected me in some way. That's why I was able to come up with it. But the gospel message is today is Jesus comes into your life. And sometimes only he can take away the demons. And so listen to the gospel lesson. Because he can take your demons away. Amen. Sermon hymn is 817. You have come down to the Lakeshore. 817. Stand as you are able.